All right, just let me go when we're live.
You're live.
Okay. Hey everyone, welcome to our podcast. This is Group 6, and today we're going to be discussing Pakistan's relationship with its neighboring countries. To start things off, I'm going to go over a brief overview of the discussion topics. We're going to be touching on each of Pakistan's 4 neighboring countries, starting with India, excuse me. I'm Jake Alverson. I'm going to be covering that topic, after which Afghanistan will be covered by Kay Chan, and then Sarah Rosser will be discussing Iran and China, and Ann Thomas will be wrapping things up in a conclusion at the end. So India and Pakistan have had kind of a rocky relationship ever since the beginning. Pakistan was created from the partition of 1947, when it was created as a separate nation, as kind of a safe haven for Muslims. Ever since then, there have been many wars between the two countries, including incidents of terrorism, every time just increasing the tension between the two. There was a nuclear arms race similar to the Cold War between the United States and Russia. One of the main areas of tension in India is Kashmir, where both Pakistan and India are constantly struggling to gain control over. All of these tensions arise from core ideological and religious differences between them. India is Hindu, the majority is Hindu, and the majority in Pakistan is Muslim. Given this bad history between the two countries, future relations are likely grim, and history has proved over and over that peace between them is rocky at best. Next, we're going to be discussing Afghanistan, and that will be covered by Kay.
So the relationship between Afghanistan and Pakistan were quite decent in the beginning. They are actually allies, which is designated by the United States. Both of them share a similar religion, trait, and also other ties. They started having a rough patch when it became the Durand Line. Pakistan's ISI had been blamed for funding warlords and the Taliban to target Afghanistan. The Durand Line was used a lot for the Afghanistan refugees and Pakistan fighters to fight against the Afghanistan communist and Soviet forces. Since Pakistan was taking in refugees from Afghanistan, the refugees were unable to have regular school except for the madras, where they train the refugees to become members of the Taliban. The Taliban became quite helpful in getting back the territories of Afghanistan, and the Taliban were claiming to clean Afghan of the warlords and criminals. This allowed the Taliban to continue to have this power, which resulted in the Talibanization and the terrors from them. Rumors were believed that Afghanistan purposely made the Talibanization to rule over Pakistan, and vice versa. This led to a distrust through the Talibanization. Their future seems to be rocky, although there are allies to the United States. The Talibanization impacted both countries greatly. The next neighboring country we'll be talking about is Iran by Sarah.
Thanks, Kay. All right, so Pakistan's relationship with Iran is historically pretty good, with only a few exceptions. The ideological differences, specifically the religious tensions between the Sunni Muslims. There's also political tensions, which include the terrorist and radical groups, very similar to Afghanistan, which Kay had already mentioned, because Iran and Pakistan are having the same issues. There's also economic tensions between the two countries, specifically the recent trade sanctions against Iran. In the future, it's unknown what kind of the relationship these two will have, especially because of the tensions right now. It doesn't look great. All right, we're done with Iran. Let's skip over to China. China is actually one of Pakistan's greatest supporters and allies. This includes both politically and economically. China has invested more than $62 billion into the country. They've also helped to build bridges, roads, highways, and even ports. Specifically, the Pakistan's Arabian seaport of Gwadar has been connected with China's western seaport. China is also supporting Pakistan politically and helping them against its neighbors, as well as backing them on the world stage. China is also interested in Kashmir, just like India is. but they only want it because it is a strategic territory, as well as the fact that it's fertile land. China's future relations with the country is fairly obvious. They plan to help Pakistan by supporting them economically and politically on the world stage. We're done with China. I'm going to pass this off to Anne for our conclusion.
Thanks, Sarah. In conclusion, Iran has had a complicated history with their neighbors. Their relationship with India started out with a terrible conflict, and they remain mistrusting and rivals to this day. Pakistan, while they share many cultural and ideological ties, they still are in a war with the U.S. war on terror in Afghanistan. Iran's relationship with Pakistan started out very friendly, but has become strained through the economic tensions and terrorist attacks. And China and Pakistan have become strong economic allies as China has given them aid and invested in their country. Pakistan has struggled building relationships with their neighbors as they've been so focused on their own national health. As they correct their internal struggles they face and become a stronger, more united nation, we believe that they'll be able to build more ties and economic relationships with their geographic neighbors. Thanks so much for watching our presentation today about Pakistan and the neighboring countries.